Welcome back to Truth Decoded. It is just before dawn on the Giza plateau. The Great Pyramid stands in absolute silence. 2.5 million stones stacked to a height no medieval cathedral would match for another 4,000 years. And here is the problem. The closer engineers look at the structure, the less the official explanation holds. Stand at the base of the Great Pyramid for a moment. Not in a photograph, not on a diagram, but in your mind, in the heat. The limestone beneath your feet is ancient and pale. The desert stretches in every direction, and the structure above you is so vast that it takes nearly a full minute to walk the length of a single side. Now crouch down and look at the ground. That is where the official story begins to collapse. Across the entire perimeter of the pyramid's base, a strip of bedrock stretching across 230 meters of desert. The surface has been measured to be horizontal and flat to within 21 millimeters across a 13-acre foundation. Think about what that actually means. Modern construction crews using laser-guided leveling equipment struggle to hold tolerances like that on a residential slab. The builders of the Great Pyramid did it across a surface the size of several city blocks, 4,500 years ago, with no GPS, no laser level, no steel instruments of any kind. The mainstream explanation shrugs and says, water channels. Trenches filled with water to find a common level. It is a reasonable idea. It is also an idea that has never been demonstrated at this scale or this precision, and no one has seriously tried. That is just the floor. Now look at the walls. Many of the casing stones and inner chamber blocks of the Great Pyramid fit together with joints, on average, only 0.5 millimeters wide. Half a millimeter. These are not small bricks. These are blocks weighing multiple tons each, dressed and fitted so tightly that a human hair cannot pass between them across surfaces that no crane in the ancient world could have maneuvered with that kind of fine control. Stonemasons and structural engineers who have examined the casing work on record have said the same thing in different words. This is not what copper tools and manpower alone produce. Copper is soft. It deforms. You cannot lap grind 2 multi-ton limestone faces to a 0.5 millimeter tolerance with a copper chisel and a workforce counting time by the sun. The fit is beyond what the tools can explain. Then there is the mathematics, and this is where the official story does not just struggle. It requires you to accept a coincidence so extraordinary, it strains the meaning of the word. The pyramid's perimeter to height ratio encodes pi to several decimal places of precision. The slope of its faces encodes the golden ratio phi. These are not approximations, they are precise, and they predate the Greek mathematicians credited with discovering these constants by 2,000 years. Whoever built the Great Pyramid knew the values of pi and phi with an accuracy that, historically, has only been attributed to Archimedes and Ptolemy about 2,300 years later. The people who built the Parthenon, a structure we celebrate as the pinnacle of ancient precision, could not match this. The Greeks are credited with discovering these constants. The pyramid was already ancient when Greece was young. The mainstream explanation requires us to believe this is coincidence, that workers who could not write down the number pi happened to build a structure that expresses it to multiple decimal places. Once you sit with that claim honestly, it does not get more comfortable over time. And then there is the King's Chamber. Deep inside the pyramid's mass, it maintains a near constant temperature year-round, regardless of what the desert does outside, where temperatures swing between extremes that would crack stone. This is not a fringe claim. It is a verified physical property of the space. The question it raises is straightforward and has never been satisfactorily answered. What function does a tomb need a climate-controlled chamber for? All of this, the leveling, the joinery, the mathematics, the thermal stability, is what we can measure from the outside and from the known interior. But since 2017, scanning technology has been firing cosmic ray particles through the pyramid's mass, looking for what is hidden inside the stone itself, and what that technology has found has not made the official story easier to defend. The King's Chamber holds a near constant temperature inside one of the harshest deserts on Earth. So tell me, do you think that's intentional engineering or pure coincidence? Drop your answer in the comments below, because what the cosmic ray scanners found hidden inside the stone takes this question somewhere far more unsettling. The Scan Pyramids Project, a joint mission led by Cairo University and France's Hip Institute, did exactly that. Beginning in 2015, teams positioned muon detectors, instruments that track cosmic ray particles raining down from the upper atmosphere, inside and around the Great Pyramid. Moons pass through stone the way X-rays pass through flesh. Dense material slows and absorbs them. Empty space lets them through. The detectors were essentially taking an X-ray of 2.5 million tons of ancient limestone. 3 separate detector types were used simultaneously, each operating on different physical principles, positioned in the Queen's chamber and along the pyramid's exterior. All 3 returned the same image. Above the Grand Gallery, one of the pyramid's known internal passages, there is a large void, at least 30 meters long, with a cross-section comparable to the Grand Gallery itself. It was confirmed and published in Nature in 2017. It is the first major internal structure discovered inside the Great Pyramid since the 19th century. Nobody put it there on the official blueprints because there are no official blueprints, and the mainstream has not agreed on what it is for. The silence around that question is deafening. Then, in 2023, the same project revealed a previously unknown corridor behind the pyramid's north face, a hidden passage that had sat undiscovered inside one of the most studied structures in human history for 4,500 years. A 2025 study in Scientific Reports using electrical resistivity tomography independently confirmed the corridor was not simply a gap between blocks. It was a significant air-filled void. 2 separate technologies, 2 independent confirmations, 1 feature nobody knew existed, and yet the official story, the ramp and copper chisel story, has nothing to say about why these spaces are there. But here is where the anomaly deepens past engineering and into something harder to dismiss. Robert Bauval, an engineer by training, noticed something while working in the Middle East in the 1980s. The 3 pyramids of Giza, Khufu, Khafre, Menkaure, do not form a straight line. The smallest of the 3 is offset slightly to the side. Bauval looked up and recognized that pattern. The 3 belt stars of Orion, Al-Nitak, Al-Nilam, Mintaka, are arranged in exactly the same way. The smallest star, Mintaka, is offset from the other 2 by almost precisely the same relative angle as the smallest pyramid. He published this in 1989. The mainstream dismissed it as pseudo-archaeology. 2 astronomers, Ed Krupp of Griffith Observatory and Anthony Ferrall of the University of Cape Town, independently ran the numbers using planetarium equipment and found that the angular match was not as precise as Bauval claimed. The pyramids form roughly a 38-degree angle, while the belt stars at the relevant era produce closer to 47 to 50 degrees. That discrepancy is real. The mainstream uses it to close the door. But here is what the mainstream does not explain. The angular match improves dramatically when you wind the sky backward, not to Khufu's era around 2560 BCE, but to approximately 10,500 BCE, when the precession of the equinoxes placed Orion's belt in a position far closer to what the pyramids reflect on the ground. Bauval's claim is not just that the layout matches, it is that the layout matches a sky that existed 7,000 years before the pyramids were supposedly built. The mainstream's rebuttal addresses the match in the wrong era. That is not a refutation, that is a redirect. Now stand on the plateau at dusk. The sun is going down behind the desert. The pyramid is going dark, face by face, as the shadow climbs its flanks. It does not care about this argument. It does not care about the muon detectors, the corridor, the angular match, the thermal chamber, the pi encoded in its slope, the half-millimeter joints, or the 21-millimeter foundation. It was here before the argument. It will be here after it. Taken individually, each of these anomalies can be explained away. Coincidence, approximation, misinterpretation. That is what the mainstream offers, and it offers it one anomaly at a time, which is the only way the explanation survives. But taken together, the engineering tolerances, the mathematical constants, the hidden chambers, the astronomical alignment pointing to a sky thousands of years older than the accepted date, they form a pattern that the ramp and copper chisel theory was never designed to explain. Not because mainstream scholars are dishonest, but because the theory was built to answer a simpler question than the one the pyramid is actually asking. We do not know who built this. We do not know how. And the most honest thing anyone has said about Giza in a century is that those 2 sentences are still true. Subscribe if the pyramids will never look the same to you again.